In the unlikely event that you become quarantined in your home to prevent the spread of illness, there are at least 5 things that you're going to want to have in good supply. In today's video, we're going to go over that list. I actually think that there are more than those 5, so I've added 3 more things that you're definitely going to want and you may actually need. Stick around. Hey guys, welcome back and thanks for tuning in. I'm the Late Boy Scout. In this video, we're going to talk about the virus. We can't really say what it's called in this video for whatever reason. YouTube demonetizes videos that talk about it by name, and there's a good chance that they'll demonetize this video anyway. Whatever the case, I want to get out some information. First, these 5 things that pretty much everybody agrees on, and a few more things that I think are pretty important, and I think you'll probably agree they're important as well. But first, I want to talk about the narrow scope of this video. We're not going to address the details of this sickness, the way that it's spread, how likely it is that you or I might get it, or the even less likely possibility that you or I might die from it. We're not going to cover any of that stuff, and certainly we're not going to touch on any of the political stuff that's going on right now. All I want to talk about is that in the event that we, you, I, whoever, are potentially quarantined or decide to quarantine ourselves in our homes to prevent the spread of illness, what will you need to keep in your home in order to comfortably make it through those 14 days or so? They say about 2 weeks is the quarantine period for most folks, and people that have been quarantined up to this point, they generally say stay in your home for 2 weeks. So let's talk about those 2 weeks and some of the things that you should have in good supply in your home to comfortably make it through those 2 weeks. Number 1, and this should be pretty obvious, food. You're going to want a good supply of food. Now this can be anything from 25-year shelf life dry goods, such as you can find at My Patriot Supply. If you go to preparewithscout.com and decide to order from there, you'll get some really good food. I've tasted it, I like it. On the other hand, they're extremely backlogged right now with orders, so if you want to get something soon, that's not the place to go. But for the future, keep that in mind. Again, preparewithscout.com is where you can go to get some of their food kits. That link does go to support my channel, so keep that in mind as well. But setting long shelf life food aside, let's talk about some simple stuff. Food that you get from the grocery store. I'm talking about canned goods. I'm talking about frozen foods. I'm talking about things that are going to have a fairly long shelf life in your pantry that will be easy to prepare and share with the whole family. And you're going to want to make sure that everybody in your household has enough for those 2 weeks. That's a really important point. Don't just get stuff that's probably going to work. Make sure, do the math, make sure everybody's going to have plenty to eat for a solid 2 weeks. And that it's not going to spoil once again. So stuff that, obviously in the first week or so, you can have your eggs, you can have your milk, and you can have your fruit, and you can have your bread and things like that. But some of that stuff may start to go bad over the next week. And so, whatever you can keep in your freezer is going to be fine. And that definitely goes for, like I said before, frozen foods that are easy to prepare in your microwave or your oven or whatever you got. So that's the first place I would say to be prepared. Just make sure that you have enough food for everyone in your family to eat for 2 solid weeks without having to go out to the store and refresh your supplies. And number 2, I would say, is personal hygiene products. So I'm talking about soap, sanitizer, any kind of cleaning products for yourself, and personal hygiene stuff for women, for kids, so diapers, things like that if you need them. Go through that list of all those things that you may need to just sort of keep yourself nice and hygienically clean, and make sure you have a good supply of all that stuff, at least 2 weeks. Now, hand sanitizer, I've seen that they're kind of a run on the stores for that stuff, so you may not be able to come across that. But rubbing alcohol does the same job, and you can kind of use it in a similar way. Just kind of be careful, obviously, but that will do the same job as far as killing germs. Of course, soap and water is perfectly good, so as long as you have a supply of water and you've got some good soap, just lather up for a good 20-25 seconds. That'll do the same job as hand sanitizer. As far as toilet paper and any of those other hygiene products, like I said, just do the math, look at your household, figure out about how much you'll need for a 2-week span. Make sure you have at least that much on hand in your home. Number 3, and this will apply to some of us and not to others, prescription medications. If there's anything you take regularly, make sure that you have not just a 2-week supply, but maybe a 30-day supply. Do what you can, talk to your doctor, talk to whoever you need to talk to, but see about getting enough that you don't have to worry about running to the pharmacy while you're quarantined and while somebody in your house may be potentially sick. You want to have all that stuff on hand in case of this emergency. Number 4 is sort of a no-brainer. You want to keep a first aid kit of some kind. It can be very robust, it can be semi-basic, but whatever your household needs, try to make sure that you've got a first aid kit that will cover those needs. Being sick is bad enough. You don't want to have a cut, a scrape, a burn that's nagging at you all week long or all 2 weeks long. You want to be able to take care of that stuff to the degree that you need to so that there's no risk of infection and so that your comfort level is a little bit higher. Now for number 5, a lot of people would put this actually at number 1 or maybe 2. I'm talking about water. A full gallon of water per person per day is what you want to have on hand. Now again, this is if your municipal water supply goes down somehow or maybe becomes contaminated or something like that. I would think that in the case of quarantine where it's probably, I'm just trying to imagine in my head what this would be like, something of a rolling quarantine where not everybody's quarantined at once in the entire city. So I would expect that basic services would continue. So your water will still be there, your electricity, your gas will still be there. Again, this is what I would assume. It would have to be pretty, well, really, really bad for those services to actually get cut off. I don't think that's going to happen. I think what's more likely is just that you will have to be stuck in your home, eating your own food, doing your own thing, possibly sick, possibly not, for that solid 2 weeks. And water, probably still going to be available. Having said that, if you have the means to have a full 1 gallon per person for 2 weeks, obviously do it, because having a lot of water on hand is just smart. Now, having done a little bit of research online, I'm seeing a lot of people talking about these 5 particular things. So I feel pretty comfortable in telling you that these are the minimum that you should have in your home to get through a 2-week quarantine. However, I do think that if you have the means, you should actually bump that list up and add at least 3 more things. And the first of those 3 things that I would add is a full tank of gas in your car. Now, that's not always practicable. I mean, you've got to drive back and forth places. It's not like you can fill your gas tank every single day. Maybe you can. If you can, cool. But I think what's more practical is for you to look at your gas tank and see, am I getting below halfway? If you are, fill it back up. And just don't let it get below half. Why? Aren't you going to be quarantined in your home? You're not going to be going anywhere. Why do you need gas in your car? Well, one of the things people are talking about online, experts are saying that you should quarantine unless it looks like you need to go to the hospital. And if you need to go to the hospital, just get there. How are you going to get to the hospital if you're out of gas? You definitely don't want to realize that you've got an emergency, get in the car, start it up, and realize that you can't get there because you don't have enough gas. No, take that out of the equation. Make sure that you have a good amount of gas in your gas tank. Full if you can, at least halfway in my opinion. The second thing on my additional list is over-the-counter medications. Now what we know is this is a type of flu, which means over-the-counter medications targeted at the flu can help you with symptoms. Doesn't mean that it's going to have a huge impact. It certainly doesn't mean that it's going to cure anything. But if we're talking about comfort, if we're talking about your ability to sort of get through each day and maybe take care of other people as well, I think it'd be really nice to have certain over-the-counter medications that can just help you be a little more comfortable and sort of deal with the symptoms of that sickness. So I would look at some options in regards to that. Have some over-the-counter medications in your home ready to be used. Now, the last thing I would recommend in the event of an unlikely quarantine is that you have some cash on hand. Yeah, cash, money. You know what I'm talking about? Why cash? Well, money just solves some problems. If you perhaps run out of some supplies or there's something you realize you've forgotten to get, there are ways that you can obtain that stuff by just waving some cash around to your friends. I mean, You put out a message on Facebook, or you call somebody or text somebody or whatever. I'm in desperate need of X, Y, and Z. Can you please come get it for me? Somebody says yes, you leave some money on the doorstep, they go get it for you. Quarantine's not broken, you've gotten what you needed, and nobody's out any money. If you don't keep cash in your home, how are you going to get that kind of thing done? Maybe you can rely on the generosity and the charity of your neighbors. On the other hand, maybe you can't. So if you know a few people, if you have some cash on hand, that should be able to solve some problems, and it's definitely just a wise thing to have anyway. And there you go, guys. There's my list. I hope it was helpful to you, but more importantly, I hope that we can all remain calm, cool, and cautiously optimistic as we prepare for the eventuality of maybe being quarantined. I, for one, feel pretty calm. I think everything's generally going to be okay, and I hope you feel the same way. I'm Late Boy Scout. We'll see you next time.